Hey, we are live. We're still waiting for allegedly Dave to come on. I didn't realise he was away in another country and he supposedly is making his bed, but he picked the phone up and he will be on shortly. And no, there's my feed going. Do I hate that? Oh, I've been really good lately, making sure that that's off, but I didn't today. Anyway, today will be on short. Well, today's the 12th of December, Tuesday the 12th of December. And hello to everybody in the chat room. And so far with us, we have Patricia, UK, and we have Adam from Iron Realm Media. So hello, guys.
Good evening.
Adam was just explaining that it was a heavy weekend last weekend, weren't you, Adam?
Just a bit. A good Christmas party. But, yeah, a couple of days to recover it's taken so far.
So how many pints did you have then? Are you a wine man or a vodka man or are you a beer man?
I'd say that night it was all of the above and some more, mate, I'm afraid.
It didn't matter what it was, eh?
My favourite shot of the night was the mini, what was it called? Baby Guinness. I've never had one of them before.
What's that? A sweet Guinness?
I think it was Kahlua with Bailey's on the top, but it looks like it's in a shot glass and it looks like a little mini pint of Guinness. So that was my favourite one of the night.
One of my favourite drinks because it's called Slippery, and then I'll say it NIPPLES. I'm not saying that word. And what it is it's sambuca, and then you've got a like a spoon, and you've run these on the top. So this is a powerful drink, but it's nice. It's really sickly, but it's so sickly it's not sickly, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There was probably stuff like that as well.
Who likes sambuca?
Chronic heartburn after those shots. They hurt.
Well, because why is that then?
Well, heartburn. It just absolutely rips me up. Gives me terrible heartburn. It's not one of my favourite sambuca, even when it's not flaming. But yeah, no.
Yeah, that's definitely a cocktail to warm you up.
Yeah.
Plus, it's quite alcoholic as well.
Just a bit. Yeah, so a little delicate anyway, Karen. Yeah, so excuse my.
Yeah, and you don't want to talk about it because you're a little bit delicate.
No, I'm still recovering.
Give me a hot fish stick any day.
Oh, they're grand. Yeah.
I'm not really into alcohol, but proper fish cake.
Well, I used to like drink, but I don't so much anymore. So I just don't drink. It doesn't bother me. I think I like a drink where you don't taste it. You know, like those what do you call them? Like vodka drinks that have, that's it, alco pops, or a cider, pear cider or something where you don't really taste the alcohol.
What's the point of having that? I mean, if you're gonna have alcohol, you have alcohol, don't you? You can't hide alcohol.
Yeah. I couldn't the other night.
I used to like. We're making Adam feel bad because we're talking about alcohol.
I know I don't need to talk anymore about it. So, talk pyramids, Karen, too. Talk pyramids.
Yeah, just before we came on, we were mentioning that, and you said that you wish that you could have been around for John Cowie.
Yeah. Listen to a few of the clips.
Yeah. I didn't actually say to him. I was a bit like concerned because like he's just picking someone from out there and saying, "Do you want to come on and hang out?" And he said yes. And I thought, do I tell him that we're a flat Earth group? Do I mention nothing? And I thought, well, the most important thing was to get him to come on and talk about the pyramids. So I didn't say anything. And then it suddenly became really apparent really early on. I'm going to have to say we're a flat Earth group. And he was a flat earther. Whew. I think what he's realised is we're not a ball. We've been totally lied to. And especially about the pyramids. And he thinks that. Carry on.
No, I was going to say, I think there's a lot of truths in the pyramids. I've been doing a little bit of sketching at it Karen. And I said to you earlier,
Yeah.
I thought it was strange that he was a flat earther, because when we're all conspiracy theorists before we get to flat Earth in most cases, I think. And my kind of stuff I used to look, it would have included pyramid stuff, and I remember years ago looking at the level of encoding that's supposed to be in the pyramid of the spherical ball Earth. So I find it strange somebody that was that pyramidy is a flat earther. I say that's why I was gutted, because I'd love to have had a good chat.
Well, he's going to come back after Christmas. And there's another lady who does stuff about way lines. I can't remember her name off. Sorry, I'm so tired. But we're going to see if she can come back and talk, because she's into ley lines and stuff like that. But he was pretty sure that Silbury Hill was part of a complex, and that there are more pyramids. They've either been destroyed or they're just there, and we haven't. Yeah, there's a couple more. There's a few more around, and it's part of a complex.
I think if you look across all ancient sites, what you see is they're all complexes, and if you look around the pyramids, it's everything in sand, and what we see today wasn't there 100 years ago. It's what they've uncovered. So I think it'd be a little naive to think that that's all there is.
Well, I only found out the other day that last week that there's another one. It's called Merlin's Mound, and it's right in the middle of Marlborough. That's part of that complex. And Silbury Hill would have resonated with that one. Now, that one's a round one, whereas Silbury Hill is a step pyramid, but it's different. You can see it's different. It's bigger, the whole thing. It's almost got like sides to it, but it's bigger. But then it resonated with that one in Marlborough, and they've built around it. But there was a water tower in it, which they've removed. It's like, I've lived here or around here all that time, and I didn't know that there was a little step pyramid in Marlborough.
I think a lot of ancient sites are hidden, ignored, and if you look through history, there's always examples of accidental damage of all ancient sites, whether it be that Napoleon marching through Egypt, damaging the face of the Sphinx with cannon fire, whether it's the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia destroying stuff in the 60s, whether it's the British, the Americans, part of these, and I suggest it from a conspiratorial point of view, but I would suggest part of the reasons of wars and part of the selections is to ensure the erasure of certain parts of history.
Adam, we have Dave with us, and I'm already really jealous because he's sitting there with these great big palm trees behind him.
Oh.
The weather's horrible here, Dave. Hello, Dave.
Oh, so sorry. It's very nice here, I've got to say.
Oh, it looks really nice where you are. Look at those palm trees.
The sun's going down, so you won't see very much soon.
Welcome, Dave. Welcome from St. Lucia, then. On the panel tonight is Patricia, and we've got Adam from Iron Realm Media with us.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Dave.
Hiya.
Hi, Dave.
Yeah, hello there. Hi.
Let's see if I get rid of that and prefer a side shot. There you go.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, mate. Where are you in St. Lucia's? Where I was saying earlier, St. Lucia's where I went on honeymoon. So.
All right. Okay. I'm down near the south, in the south of the island, near View Fort.
Yeah. Cool. We stayed in Castries.
Castries. Yeah, Castries, which is up the other end.
Yeah.
So how long have you been there, then, Dave?
Just over a week.
Wow, so you're all acclimatized then. So is this holiday or work?
This is escaping the winter and doing stuff as well.
Ah, so how long are you planning to stay in St. Lucia then?
Till about March.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, really.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
Yeah, sometimes life's like that.
It is sheer jealousy, Dave. It's just hit freezing back in the UK, mate, and it's proper Baltic. So you're killing me sat there in a vest.
Oh dear, I'm so sorry.
No, don't feel sorry. I'm happy for you, but yeah, you can. Hence,
Dave's not sorry. Are you, Dave?
Not at all.
So how hot is it?
what I'm escaping.
How hot is it?
Well, it was something like 27, 28 degrees all day today.
Wow. Do they have nice clear skies, Dave, or do they have chemtrails like the rest of us?
I have not seen any chemtrails since I've been here, but looking around now, the sky is a bit milky. But I don't know if it's because it's getting dark. But the skies have been sort of nice and blue, and chemtrail free. In fact, I do notice it when I leave here and I come back to England. The first thing that hits me is my breathing goes funny. So I know there's something up with the atmosphere back in England, because as soon as I get off the plane, you know, I actually feel it when I breathe.
Different kind of. We've got a very humid air here, haven't we?
Well, it's not so much the humidity. Humidity isn't a big deal, but I don't know. There's something in the air that you know, it almost hurts to breathe when I first get off the plane.
yeah, I wouldn't disagree, Dave. I got a house in Italy, and you know, we stay out there in the summer. It's still have to work in the winter, but you know, try and get away there. And like you say, the clarity of air is noticeably different. It's kind of hidden out in the mountains, and there is no chemtrail in there. You might see the odd trail in the distance, but literally where we are, you don't see it. It tends to be near population density. And
I was just about to say that it's obvious that they're going for the populations, you know.
Yeah. So,
well, I was talking with FPV today, and it's a bit like they're just trying to kill us. That's it.
Well, what else is new?
yeah, one of many ways that, though. But
It just seems that we're an experiment. That's all we are somehow, I think.
No, the time from experimenting is over with. I think the 20th century was the time for experimenting and getting things right, and the 21st century is the time of implementation.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's where a lot of flat earthers are feeling right now. What do we do now? You know, so many have got to a level of understanding and happy, and it is. I think so many are searching for that day. What is the implementation? What are the things we can do? And
well, that's the thing. I don't consider myself a flat earther. I'm just Dave who knows that the Earth is flat. But I've been researching now for something like 15 years on all sorts of different subjects, and it's obviously difficult for people who come into the truth through flat Earth, that they don't have the background, they don't have the basis of, you know, everything else that's going on. So, you know, it's great that they are awakening to the flat Earth, but there's a whole lot of other catching up to do before you realise what's been going on. You know, we've seen all the extremes of weather in you know, in America and a few other places around the world, but you know, I guess many people weren't aware that you know, throughout you know, I think the early 20s, they were honing the technology, and you know, there was like like 1 year when there was tsunamis one after the other. They were testing tsunamis. You know, there was another year there was hurricane after hurricane after hurricane, and they were testing them. So this weather, you know, chaos that's going on, it comes as no surprise because you can see that they were testing the systems and now they're implementing them.
Which is not good for us then.
Well, none of it's ever been good for us, you know. We grew up in a in this, I guess, time, this bubble where you know, we still had the good old days. You know, our kids, you know, don't have that. They won't have the good old days because it's always been shit for them, you know. But you know, we grew up when you know, we all played outside and we had those, you know, nice summer days that seemed to go on sort of forever. And you know, you could leave a job on Friday and be working again on Monday, you know. That was those were the salad days before the before it all kicked in. I guess it happened before 9/11, but 9/11 was a big turning point. But you know, up until then, it was they were the salad days. Those days will never be here again, I imagine.
I think 9/11 was the kind of signifier that actually there is total control. Look at what we can achieve, and actually could then press the buttons to go into what you allude to. We used to have an economy that was driven by the people, and actually now we have an economy that's controlled in so many ways. They can turn, you know, I mean, they can turn things up and down to actually control the average working man's daily life, take him from poverty to relative wealth with such ease, in terms of, and I allude to things like the tax credits, where we're taking the ability to live away from a person's ability to earn and into actually supplemented from state thing. And that, all of that came in pre-Thatcherite, and then into the Blair era, you really saw that social control aspect come in afterwards. And I think there's
I would kind of disagree, because I think they've always had the ability to do that. You know, the money is something that is their technology. It's always been their technology, and they've always had the ability to you know, switch on boom times and then switch them off again and switch on a depression. They've always had that ability. You know, just by this idea of governance, they've always had the ability to you know, create hard times just by saying, okay, now we're going to introduce a bedroom tax. You got more than one bedroom free, you know, all this stuff. Just out of nothing, just out of nowhere, all of a sudden there's a new tax, and now, you know, you've got, you know, you're that much poorer. You know, it's they've always had this ability. It's just that now they're putting all of it into service. You know, they're racing headlong into this you know, this control grid to get it in, you know, in place, you know, before a certain time, and you know, their time's running out for them.
What, because people are waking up, you mean?
Well, I have obviously I have a more sort of biblical view of it from what I've been researching, but you know, I think there's a period. Okay, there's a deadline as such that's specified in the Bible. That
2018, isn't it?
2019, you know, roughly.
2019.
When it's essentially the end of slavery. So they have to have their systems in place before the end of slavery comes.
Well, that's not good, is it?
Well, I say it's a bloody good thing, actually. I know it's all got to get worse before it gets better, but you know, it's the end of slavery. You know, it's when
No, it's waiting to get there. I mean, still got a bit further to go yet.
Well, you know, I don't think it's going to be like
something to happen now.
I don't think it's going to be like a particular day that it's all over. You know, I think it's you know, it could be 2018 is the beginning. 2019 is the beginning of the end. Just like you know, the slave trade you know, didn't really start on a particular day. You know. it sort of started growing from a particular day. So I don't know. I've got all the details here, but I think we're just going to see. I was just actually saying, sorry, jumping off a bit. I was just going to say that I was reading a book a long time ago called This Other Eden by Ben Elton. And the storyline is that there's climate chaos coming. Yeah, it's one of those books. And the rich people have all gone out and bought these expensive biodomes where they can lock themselves in, and these domes will keep them alive for years and years and years. So everybody's waiting for the right moment to scurry into their domes. It's called the rat run, when they're waiting for that moment where they all head off into their domes and lock themselves in for like 50 years or something, until all the climate chaos is all over with. So in the end of the book, sorry to give spoilers, but the moment comes and all the rich people kind of run off to their domes and lock themselves in for 50 years. But the point is that all of a sudden, once that happens, life for everybody else who's left outside gets better and better, because all these people that were responsible for messing everything up all suddenly disappeared off the face of the earth. So essentially, that's I probably didn't preface it enough, but that's what I see happening. Things just like getting better, because the system will slowly cave in on itself, and life gets slowly better and better.
Outside the system.
I think yes. Yeah, I think if you're not part of the system, everyone has to be part of the system, because that's the way they build the system. But if you can sort of, I guess, like me, just skirt on the outside of it, dipping in there when you have to, then if you're not reliant on the system, when it collapses, you're going to see that your life is going to get better and better.
Yeah, the tiny bit roboty, by the way, Dave. Just gone a little bit roboty.
Am I? Oh, okay. I'm gonna shut down my camera then, just in case it's bandwidth.
Oh, that sounded better already.
Okay. There you go.
Oh, yeah, that is better, but there was a lovely view behind you. I'm really sorry. I didn't realise that you were away. You didn't mention you were away, but I'm really glad that you said that you'd come on.
Right. Well, yeah, I thought I did mention it, but there you go. Memory like I do sometimes. Yeah. So
you've been.
What's it?
When I was talking to you before, you had been doing some presentations in Birmingham and things like that.
Yeah. I've literally most of this year I've been sort of whizzing around all over the place. It's been kind of non-stop. So much so that some of the things that I really needed to get done, I didn't actually do. One of them was to start my kind of crowdfunding campaign to get my self-sufficient house built. I was hoping to get it done by the time I got back here, but I never really got it started. So hey ho, life's like that sometimes.
Yeah, things always take a long time, don't they? And you realise as you get a bit older, you can't do everything all in one go.
Well, I wouldn't put it down to getting older, because I don't really believe in that, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe not older, but I don't know. I must admit, I go live every night, and my brain's a bit frazzled lately, because it's just quite a lot of work doing the channel. So yeah,
yeah, I think it's because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Sorry?
There's not enough time.
I think there's so much going on, all happening all at once. It's like every day there's something new happening, some false flag event or some announcement or something. It's like all coming thick and fast now, whereas before it was like, you know, maybe once a week, maybe once a fortnight, you'll get something, you know, something interesting coming along. Now it's all the time.
Did you see that Freddie Flintoff has now come out with he's a flat earther?
I've no idea who that guy is, but I did see
Cricketer.
I did see the yeah, well, okay, but yeah, not having a television or not being interested in sports anymore. I've got no idea who this guy was, but I did see the newspaper article, which was posted on Facebook or something. So I assume he was somebody important.
Yeah, he was. I think he's retired now, but he was. Yeah, I thought that was a good one. Maybe expecting someone like him to come out. What did you think of that, Adam? It's good, wasn't it?
Yeah, I actually tweeted him saying, you know, if you are serious, get in touch. You know what I mean? Because and I do wonder what's going off in the media at the moment. You're seeing a lot of elevation of it into news articles, and it dealt with in very spurious ways. You've defended him, Mark Sargent, you know, getting mugged off in ways and being attacked because of the way he portrays flat earth. I think there's an attempt at the moment to build it up and quickly knock it down in the same article, in the same segment, if you know what I mean. And I think it's their next reaction. They've tried ignoring it, and as I think the philosophy goes, don't they? They try ignoring you, then it's ridiculed. So we're at the ridicule stage, and I think I don't know about Freddie Flintoff. I think he's come out and said he believes it. I've not heard a great deal afterwards, but I do think it's good that even if they're paid, some people are coming out making that statement, and there are people, unlike Dave, you know, that do follow this sort of thing, that don't follow flat earth and follow cricket avidly as sports or celebrity media type things, and him saying that will at least trigger some people to have a read and have a laugh. At night, it'll eat away at their heads like it did my head and I suppose Dave's head and yours, right? Do you know what I mean? Until eventually you do bother to look properly and stop putting it away.
Well, most people actually got into flat earth by going, what the hell is this all about? And you know, it can't be real, and then realizing it's real.
Yeah. Do you know Kai Holloway, Dave?
Not. I don't recognise the name offhand.
No.
Why's that?
No, Paula, but I'd kind of heard about you through them. It was him who was into kind of activist stuff within the courts and the common law events and stuff like that. It was a guy like that I'd got into all that. I was obviously been reading into conspiracy, and then it was chatting with a guy like that just threw it at me, and because he knew I was a science geek. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Threw it at me for a laugh, and I think like most, you go away to disprove it, don't you? And you come back scratching your head.
Yeah.
But I think the point is you have to actually genuinely research it. It's very simple for people to put it away because somebody else says that's nonsense. It's only when you look yourself properly that you do turn. Well, I think.
Well, that's why you know that when people haven't actually researched it, you know, because you know if they actually did with a critical eye and maybe two brain cells rubbed together, you realise that you know, there's something wrong. There's something up with the story we've been given, and that's enough. You know, that's enough to start with. If you start seeing holes in the story, yeah, because for the longest time I didn't want to actually call myself a flat earther. I just would say that all I know is that we're not clinging onto a ball. You know, so you know, as I said, all you need to know is that the official story isn't real.
It isn't real for sure. It's just terrible, the lie. All the lies. Just we're in somebody else's game.
Yeah. Well, the latest thing I've just come across. It's not really. It's probably not particularly new. Because I just saw Mr. Thrive and Survive and posted it, but there was a newspaper article from 1900 that basically said that somebody was trying to talk about the round Earth, and he was going to be put, possibly put in prison.
Yes, we covered that on a show, Dave. We were looking at the history of Ball Earth teaching, and he was teaching Ball Earth, wasn't he? And was threatened with prison and the like for such a blasphemous and nonsensical practice. I think it was early 1900s, wasn't it, in the UK? John Savage did it,
Yeah. It was, I just saw it today. It's April 18th, 1900. That's the date of the article, and well, if that's true, which there's no reason not to believe it, then the implications are kind of startling. It kind of means that this all pervasive idea of the Ball Earth that everybody's accepted as being around for 500 years, perhaps it wasn't quite like that, and it's only in this this age of mass education that now everybody believes that it's a ball.
I think happened. It seemed through artists who's done a lot of research that in the 1900s there was just so many electric car companies, vans, the whole lot. They could go for hours on end on one battery, and they could go quite fast, some of these trucks. And then we got the First World War and the Second World War, where we were quite sort of bombed, so we lost a lot of infrastructure and so on and so forth. And then we come out of the wars, we get televisions, we get NASA, we get gas, oil, we get time savings. Everything happened in the 60s. I'm not saying that maybe they hadn't lined it up before, but it all happened in the 60s. It didn't happen 400 years ago. That's the research we found.
Well, I'll put it differently, that the correlation is that I think it was 1900 when in America there was like 99% literacy rate. So they'd really honed the mass education around that time. So it can't be any coincidence that there was mass education at that time, and that's when it seems that the first stirrings of putting out this Ball Earth idea kind of started around at the same time.
We don't know if that history is true anymore, do we? We can't prove that 400 years ago this is what happened.
I think what you see from my perspective is it's all around the same point. You see the Sagnac experiment, the Michelson-Morley experiments, all starting to head science in a direction where there are quite definitive assumptions that you can draw from them. And I think you see around that time a plan and fake experiments like the validation of Einstein's relativity that are put into place to quickly usher in a new view of science to eradicate what the old view, encompassing ether and the likes, is starting to demonstrate. And that's starting to be validated now with, if you see Bob from Globebusters, light gyroscope experiments, that's starting to demonstrate the fact that there is some form of ether out there. And around the 1900s, the ball and the removal of all the previous knowledge, all the previous physical sciences, the zetetic sciences, are eradicated and replaced with a history of the Newtonian history that we're then told is how science actually developed. Well, we know it didn't if we actually bother to read, and that a lot of it is ridiculed even up until the late 1890s, 1900s. I think there's a lot that goes off, not just one little bit or the other. It's it's part of their plan, isn't
it? Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really it's very intriguing anyway that that perhaps, you know, the history has been manipulated even more than we can possibly imagine. And it is, you know, because you know, we wake up into this world and you know, we can only go on what we're told. So with total control of the media, total control of the education system, you know, it seems very, very possible that you know, we've been lied to such an extent we can't even imagine.
I would think history's the basic they start with. It's I'm not a Christian, but if you believe the Bible, Jesus is supposed to come back after 1,000 years, isn't he? I would suggest there's at least 1,000 years missing in history. I don't know where your views on that, Dave, but I think if you're going to believe certain aspects of the Bible, you know what I mean, that prove true, that you see another validation in the 1,000-year reign of Christ after. Do you know what I'm talking about? Or
I do know what you're talking about, but personally, I think you know, the New Testament was a fabrication. Looking at the Old Testament, you can actually follow the timeline. I mean, I think there was up to a point where the Old Testament and the Apocrypha ends. You've got a complete timeline of that period. There's also a kind of prophetic period, which we're kind of living in at the moment, which doesn't really actually, even if 1,000 years is missing, which I know that's some theory that some Russian people put out, even if 1,000 years is missing, it doesn't actually invalidate the you know, the actual timeline of these prophecies, because you know, it's not based on dates, it's based on events.
Well, I would say it validates, actually, with the point I was going to make there, that actually, if you take the 1,000 years away, then actually Jesus isn't late, is what I would suggest. And I say I'm not a Christian. I don't necessarily subscribe to the God's inspiration of the written word, but I do take it as a useful historical document. And that was something I saw, that they've got that contradiction in the Bible, that Jesus is, you know, supposed to be coming back after 1,000 years. And I was brought up, you know, as a Christian, it's one of the things that turn you away. You go, well, that don't make sense when you look at it. And actually, when you then bother to analyze history and how much is, and it's not just people like Fomenko, I think is, or Velikovsky and the likes. There are numerous people that when you analyze history, you do see a repetition patterns and an addition of timelines, which does suggest, and I think the crux of it with Fomenko's work, with all work, is that we can't date anything past sort of 1500. So the prophecy stuff you're talking about, I don't disagree with, and it's very specific in terms of years and the way you can build a timeline from it. But it's where how do you place that chunk in the bit that they've clouded, if you see what I mean.
Well, it's fairly straightforward when you you know, if you discount the whole of the New Testament. You know, as you say, you know, you started saying about contradictions. Don't get me started on the contradictions. the whole book of the New Testament is literally chock-a-block with contradictions. So so you know, I discount that book altogether. I don't reference it, even though most of it was lifted from the Old Testament. So yeah, as I said, the Old Testament has got enough you know, timeline. It's enough historical reference for you to actually pick out the true history of the world, and you know, discard the rest, you know, the story that victors have told.
What's your take on Jesus then, Dave? Do you mind me asking?
No, he didn't exist. It was created by Greco-Romans in order to deceive people. The first commandment is, thou shalt not put any other gods before me. So right away, when you look at this Jesus character, the first thing he says is, if the only way to the Father is through me. That's putting the Jesus before the Most High. So, if you follow that guy, then you're breaking the first commandment. Which is what he was designed for.
A question on that then, in terms of that, would you then say that the same function of Isa within the Quran, and I'm probably dropping you in the mire there, but would you consider the same? That's the same person, isn't it? Is that that life fictional in the same sense, and it's implanted into the Quran, or how do you see that?
I'm saying that all religions, all of them, were created by the same people, all of them, and they're all there. Just like in the truth movement, you have Alex Jones to capture the angry people. You got David Icke to capture the spiritual people. You've got Russell Brand to capture the young trendy ones. The different brands to capture everybody.
Yeah, I think I'd probably have a slight variance on that. I wouldn't say necessarily created, but I would probably say eventually controlled by. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like.
Can I just say, Adam? Can I tell you our take on it? Our take is that basically, with talking with people like Bro Sanchez, Santos, listening to Dave, basically, without sounding horrible to any people that's really into religion, that religion was made as to control us.
Yeah, I agree.
Totally. I mean, I as I allude to, I'm not religious in the slightest. I believe there is a God, there is a creator. I don't have any story that I hold to in any way, shape or form. Do you know what I mean? And it's I actually, believe in God through science. Do you know what I mean? I was a complete science geek and came into this critically. Do you know what I mean? And I've actually been led back to believing there is a creator because of my evaluation of science. And that started before Flat Earth. It started, criticising evolution and the likes. And the only good thing for me in all of this, to take it a bit lighter, is, it destroyed Star Wars for me. and I'm taking my boys on Thursday afternoon, Dave. I know you're a big fan, aren't you? You know what I mean? But it's...
Yeah. It destroyed Star Trek for me.
Yeah.
I think I felt Star Trek was destroyed when I realised that 99% of it was done on green screens. I don't know if I ever thought about films. Once they showed you repeatedly the green screens, it took the fun away because they were never in front of what they were. So what was the point of watching it? I mean, I know they weren't anyway, but once you know how they did it, it just took all the fun away.
Yeah.
If you watch... If you listen to old music that's recorded, they record the whole thing in one go. When you look at those Fred Astaire films or whatever, they film that dance sequence all in one go. Whereas today, cut, cut, cut. They take it from every angle. Cut, 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 cut. They probably say about 5 words. Cut. It's different today.
Yeah. To go back to what Adam was saying, I remember the moment that I got disenchanted with science. It was when LIGO, I don't know if you come across LIGO, which was the laser interferometer gravity wave detector.
Mm.
When that opened, when that started, I think it was in 2008. Now, I'd been following or learning relativity. I've got my favorite book was Nigel Calder's Einstein's Universe. I read it over and over again until I got a good handle on relativity. And then LIGO started, and it puzzled me because if the way they were trying to detect these gravity waves meant they were proving that Einstein was wrong. Because what they do is they shoot lasers along one sort of 15-mile journey, and then another one 90 degrees away from it, and literally combine the lasers back and see if there's an interference pattern. Because if the lasers come back at different times, there'll be an interference pattern. So if one leg suddenly gets slightly longer, then the beams are going to come back at different times, and they'll see an interference pattern. But the problem is, if, according to Einstein, if space contracts, then time slows down, so that the speed of light remains the same. So if they're using a laser to detect a sort of contraction of space, well, it won't ever detect anything, because if space contracts, then time slows down, speed of light stays the same. There'll never be a difference in the result. So it's saying that if they do detect something, then it's proving Einstein wrong. And if they don't detect something, because obviously this is a big universe in their model, this huge universe, there should be gravity waves hitting us all the time. So whether they detect it or not, either way, it proves Einstein wrong.
Yeah. Are you saying that this is there is the obvious criticism of the instrumentation, but if you did assume the instrumentation did detect gravity waves, you're saying that actually the fact that the gravity wave travels in a wave, all it would do is slow down the time, and therefore it would be exactly the same. It's just only an outside observer would have noticed that the gravity waves traveled through it, but the inward observer, i.e. the LIGO machine, wouldn't know any difference, because the wave would be negated by the slowing down of time.
Yes, because it's not space that's contracting, it's space-time that's contracting. Any contraction in space means a slowing down of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so if they detect anything, then it's proving that Einstein's wrong.
The major issue I had was that what kind of instrument, if it's detecting gravity waves, picks up interference from trains, and when they manage to shut that out, microwaves and other things that you hear about, and how did they actually manage to shut out all of the universe? What function? Because it's obviously a damping function they have to put on it. They can't stop the thing shaking, so they have to counterbalance it. So how did they counterbalance the whole of the noise of the universe to ensure that when it was silent, they could pick up that gravity wave that isn't actually recorded on the same device? Because we're picking up vibration on that thing, not gravity.
Well, I don't know. I don't know the details of how they did that, but the point is that they cannot. If Einstein's right, they cannot be detecting these gravity waves.
Is Einstein right though?
No, Einstein's wrong. I think Einstein, this whole idea of space-time is a fabrication. It's it's just like black holes and dark matter. So to make the sums work out. Yeah,
well, it's just made up, isn't it? Dark matter. We don't know what dark matter is. A way of stopping investigating what you've got and just dumping all your problems into an imaginary area. It actually stops investigation, because instead of actually finding out some of the other nuances that you attribute to the function of dark matter, you don't bother. You just attribute it all. So you learn even less when you have to have 3/4 of your universe dark.
Well, I think that's the function of science anyway, to stop investigation. Now you've got all these experts, and they've got all these fantastic theories. Why should you bother to try and figure it out? Because you know, mere mortals like us aren't going to be able to sit down and disprove Einstein, are we?
Not yet, Dave. I think the reality is I think people do. It's the credibility and I think even in mainstream academia, it's discredited. It's disagreed with. It's given extra excuses. It's got additions to it. Do you know what I mean? And anything like that can't be true in science, and that's the trouble. As you're alluding to, the term science has been conflated with scientism, which is what the mainstream masses believe is science. But again, look, and you do start to see in all areas
well, it's just another religion, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's no more than just another religion. Actually, a religion designed to keep you away from you know, the truth of the world, you know, that there is a creator, which is what religion is ultimately designed to do.
Could I just say that Josh has joined us? Josh, are you there? Josh? Josh is in California. Josh? It sometimes takes him a couple of seconds just to...
And probably muted as well.
Yeah, he's muted. He might be doing something right now. He's probably at work because they're hours behind us, aren't they? I think he's probably working. But that's Josh who's joined us. He'll say hello in a minute. Yeah,
Josh,
sorry.
go on, sorry, Karen.
Have you two met each other before, by the way?
Me and Dave?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Do you want to explain to Dave who you are then? What you do? Adam?
Yeah, if you want, yeah.
Plug yourself.
No, I'm just embarrassed. I hate to do so. Well, my name's Adam. I'm like part of Iron Realm Media, so we have a Friday night fringe cast, Dave. So, you know, Flat Earth for 2 years now. And as I alluded to earlier, been awake for a while for different reasons. And we like I said, we do a podcast, so we're more into zootetic stuff, starting to do experiments ourselves. One of the members, John, is the guy you'll have seen with the gyroscope experiments, John Savage. Josh, who's come on there, he's the guy that him and Walt host the show on TFR on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 o'clock UK time, so early doors for you till you get back. Yeah, and we kind of try to do experiments. I've done a few myself, so I've done a moonlight experiment. And tried to apply proper science, so to actually use the real principles of science to strengthen up the experimental data and observations that most people have and then get criticised for. I've also done a proper curvature calculator, so a real formula you can use that's accurate for any distance on the ball. Yeah, me and the guys like to chew the crud, so we just have an open forum Friday night, try and get a few guests on. Probably should have you on, mate, to be fair. That would probably be a great shout. Yeah, there you go, Karen.
I could do that.
Yeah, it'd be great to have you on. Josh will sort that. He's the man that organises all that.
It's always good to help networking our friends, isn't it?
Yeah, you're a star. Yes. But yeah, it'd be great to have you on. The guys would love to have a chat with you, to be honest, Dave. I think they'd chew your ear off, mate. So
okay, not literally, I hope.
Well, whatever floats your boat. If you come on, we'll do it. That'll do it. So no, they're all good lads. We've got Rob in Australia. I said John Savage, Walt and Josh are in America, and James is in Canada. So just guys that met up through the Flat Earth, and you know what I mean, kind of started a Friday night show, chatting and chewing the cud, and yeah, it's been good fun.
Cool. To be honest, I've kind of been out of researching the flat Earth because essentially, you know, you get to a point where you know, you're convinced, you know, you don't really need any more convincing, and so I've kind of let everybody else, you know, carry on finding stuff. I'll keep my nose sort of in, you know, in the you know, in the world, just to keep my you know, keep my knowledge up. But I'm not actively researching it anymore. There's so many other things to research that you know, to be honest, I haven't got time to keep researching flat Earth. Yeah, too many interesting things.
Well,
Mind
yeah,
you, don't need to be anymore, do you, Dave?
Sorry, say again?
You don't have to be convinced anymore.
No, exactly. You know, you get to a point where the evidence is so overwhelming. You know, you don't really need to know anymore. I mean, I don't really need to know, you know, if the AE map isn't accurate. Or okay, I don't need to know any more details of it. You know, I just know that you know, we're not sticking to a spin ball through space. You know, I'm not going to ever need to you know, chart South America, find out exactly how far it is away from, you know, Cape Town, whatever. Doesn't really affect me at this point. And I think I keep saying the AE
Actually,
map is.
Dave, tell Adam who's one of the latest members of Flat Earth now.
Huh?
Who's one of the latest members of Flat Earth is your son.
Oh yeah, Leo. He's he was listening to the Flat Earth guy's song with the moon, the fake moon landing stuff. He's quite into that one at the moment. He was making his brother listen to it. So yeah, he's. I think he's a bit like Dave, really. Kids are funny, aren't they? They're not. They certainly won't be obsessed with research like that at his age. But I think from just talk, because I don't force anything on them, but they see what I'm doing and they'll ask questions and then I'll bore them and then they'll wander off. Do you know what I mean? But I think they don't question it, and because it's logical and makes sense in a child's mind. So they're not on some kind of trip at school to try and, because, you know what I mean, I've told them, don't be silly. You don't need to prove your teacher wrong. You're there to answer the questions and get that certificate. Do you know what I mean? It's like swimming. You have to do the stroke like that when you're at swimming class, yeah, and you get the certificate, job done. Then when you've done that, you can swim how you want. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Playing around how you care. You're there, you know what I mean? You're at school to get that silly certificate that means, as we've all alluded to, you function in society. And there's no point being a bloody martyr. And certainly I've got no desire to send my kids out on a, as Dave will appreciate this, a godforsaken crusade that affects their life through my beliefs. Do you know what I mean? But they're perfectly aware of it and see it, and we'll see things on the TV and go, look at that, and even conspiracy stuff. The amount of stuff that's in kids' TV, and they'll be watching a cartoon and go, Dad, come on, look at this Illuminati eye on this kid's cartoon. Do you know what I mean? And stuff, all sorts of. So, yeah,
How old is your son?
Though, isn't it? The children have got to start watching it at their age.
Yeah. So 12, it's gone 12 and 10.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
So they're, you know, and they're more than conscious of it. But it is, to them, kids. There's no, as you alluded to, Dave. We lived in the golden age, didn't we? We have a previous reality to compare to this, from the basics of how life was, the cost of living, the freedom you had as a child, the freedom your parents would give you as a child, even though Jimmy Savile was running around. Do you know what I mean? That we all had a different kind of life that even I'm prepared to give my kids. And I think conspiracy is a part of a kid's life. It's an accepted thing, and I don't think that they assume the CIA definition of conspiracy. I think they understand that it means something that's we're getting mugged off with. Simply.
Well, I just want to say that you mentioned you know, that the golden age and Jimmy Savile. That's the other interesting thing, yeah. When we look back at you know, when I saw that Jimmy Savile on Top of the Pops, basically groping a girl on camera, yeah, it was shocking. But I actually remember watching that episode of Top of the Pops, you know, as aired, and I didn't notice it because it was that golden age, and you know, horrible things like that can't possibly happen, could they? You know, so you see what I'm saying?
I don't even think you saw it like that. You see it like that now, but it wasn't. I didn't think that then. I mean, I don't know how old I'm. 44, Dave. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how old you are. Probably
10 years older than you.
Oh, you look good. I might have to get into the urine therapy if I can stick another 10 on.
I was just going to say, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. That you know, we were different then because it was this time when everything was innocent. So you know, what's his name? Jimmy Savile.
Part of being a kid, though, is that because we had innocence, or are you talking just generally? Then you feel that in the 60s and 70s, children grew up differently than they do now.
Yes, because again, it was we were innocent because you know we I don't know. It's like we had time to play, you know, and we thought everything was playful and everything was sort of innocent as well. So that when Jimmy Savile was doing that thing on TV, you know, we didn't see. It's like when you show the kids one of these pictures that can be taken either in a sexual way or as, you know, a picture of two dolphins playing or something. Yeah, the two dolphins playing, but an adult will see the sexual side. Yeah. Yeah, it was like that. We looked at the world with these innocent eyes, and this stuff was still going on. But you know, the way we were living, we didn't see it for what it was.
Do you think this is part of the game, by the way, with all that chem training they're doing? If they've got us all inside playing on our computers, phones and computers, well, they're chem training us.
I don't get what you mean. Where does that?
Well, if like you were saying, like we used to go and play in the park. We used to go outside as groups of children and play. You don't see so much of that anymore. Everybody's at home on their computers.
No, I think
on their iPad.
I'd allude to the in terms of you talking about what you're talking about is instilling a level of inherent an undercurrent of fear in people. So in parents to instill that fear of not letting your kids out, and actually you've seen a change in society where parents would throw their kids out the door when we were kids, get out and get some air, and now actually they don't. Why? Because we actually believe that our kids are at risk, but as we were alluding to there, probably poorly, that risk was the same, if not greater back then, but it didn't stop us letting our kids go out. But we're now, as a society, fear-porned into this belief that we don't let our kids do this because as soon as they go out the front door and we take our eyes off them, they're there. And it's a way of keeping people in a much tighter box than the tight box that they had 30 years ago when we were kids, 40 years ago.
Well, it's not just the fear though. This is what I'm trying to say. Oh. It's you know, for instance, going out to work. Yeah, I remember the jobs I was doing back in the 80s and 90s and stuff, early 90s. You know, you'd be at work, you'd have a laugh, you know, with everyone, and you know, it wouldn't be just about work. It'd be a social thing, and on Friday afternoons, everybody would go down the pub at Friday lunchtime, and then sort of kind of cruise for the rest of the afternoon. That doesn't happen anymore. You know, you know, I don't know if it's everywhere, but it seems like it. But it's not going to work. Isn't about enjoying yourself anymore, or you know, having a fulfilling time, or anything. It's about, you know, your employer getting as much, you know, work out of you as possible. So I think the last job I did, the only way we'd be able to talk to each other, you know, even the person sitting next to me, was through instant messenger. You know, so am I making sense? I don't know if I'm making sense here.
Yeah, you are. Everything is regulations, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just that you know, it's part of this golden age, this sort of that we had, that golden age of innocence or something, and it's just been slowly, you know, turned around into this oppressive, you know, 1984 style lifestyle that we've got now.
Yeah, and it's horrible. But then more of us are waking up now.
Yeah, well, I'm of the mind that I know I'm going to be sounding depressing, but I'm of a mind that there's nothing we can humanly do. It's actually beyond our control now. It's got a life of its own.
Yes, it's not exactly as if we can go anywhere, is it? And tell anyone. Not really.
No, well,
because it's already out, and they've spent 60 years making sure that we're a ball, and look what they've done to create this ball and the lies. They're not going to give that up easy, are they?
Well, I was actually speaking about everything, rather than not just the flat Earth. I mean, you know, it's all closing in around us, to be honest. You know, we've got like a domestic army in every country, calling themselves policemen, literally, you know, gunning people down in the streets and harassing everybody at every opportunity. You know, we've got so-called governments that are just doing whatever the hell they want. You know, you know, it's all closing in around us. That's my sense, and it's you know, I hope I'm not sounding too paranoid or anything, but you know, that's literally what's happening.
No, it's okay. They've herded us into places, and then they've told us that we're the free society, but we're not. We live in a free society. The West is a free society, but we're not. We're really controlled.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. One of the worrying things that I've been looking at lately is this idea of artificial intelligence. I don't know if everybody's been following that.
Yeah, yeah. In various ways, yeah. What?
Well, I've been sort of looking at it from the standpoint of you know, the rise of Bitcoin as well. So it's been it's a little odd because
I'm not a fan.
Not at all. I'm not a fan of any kind of monetary system, you know, especially not Bitcoin, which I see as the cashless system that the elite have been trying to get in, you know, since the beginning, basically. So this is it, you know, and people who can't see that this is the cashless system we want is, well, you know, these guys are very efficient at getting what they want, and you know, to be at this stage of the game where there's only 2 countries left that you know, are opposing the Rothschild-controlled bank monopoly of the whole monetary system. Those 2 countries all are getting ready to be taken over, and you know,
is Malaysia one of them?
No, Iran and North Korea.
Right.
So they're the only 2 countries that don't have a Rothschild-controlled bank at the moment. So, and we can see, you know, almost every day a new story about Iran or North Korea. So they're set to fall. So to think that you know, these guys don't have a system in place when you know, these 2 countries or you know, capitulate is ridiculous. Of course, they're ready for when they finally get the complete monopoly. So what is a cashless system? Got to be cryptocurrency.
I would stay clear of any. If you're talking about those kind of times, then surely you revert back to physical currency.
What do you mean?
Well, in terms of any times of crisis, and particularly with cryptocurrency, and it's yet to be tested in this realm, is that's the test of a true currency, is in times of crisis, when countries go to war or economies are crashing, it falls apart. But the value of solid, precious metals only ever strengthens in those times, but always over time retains its thing. So for me, I would never, if I was going to invest in anything, it would be in owning something solid and tangible, as opposed to a concept, which is what cryptocurrencies are. Their inherent value comes in their untraceability, and that to me is certainly, when you invest in it, it's a bit like speculating in the stock market. That inherent value really isn't based in anything tangible, whereas gold and silver, history states, if you've got to save your arse, for me, that's what I would put any savings into.
Yeah, but you know, who owns all the gold?
No, I would buy it.
No, I'm saying, who owns all the gold? It's the Rothschilds, you know. They've got all the gold. So if if everyone started to on a gold standard currency, well, the Rothschilds gold at the moment.
Well, that's the question. Where is the gold? Have they got the gold? Whenever they've been asked for the gold, they don't give up the gold. We have wars and stuff to distract, don't we?
Yeah, well, no, Fort Knox is empty.
Yeah. Where is the gold
Fort
is the big question, you know.
Yeah, it is a big question. And you know, when they took over Libya, they took all his gold, you know. So yeah, where is the gold? I suspect it's somewhere in London, you know, seat of the Rothschilds and that whole bloodline.
Well, England seems to play quite a big part in all this. It just does.
Always has. Always has.
I mean, I think we mentioned it to you before, but suddenly it just came out about, like, the flags, like the USA flag, for instance. They're not flying a peaceful flag; they're flying a war flag. They've never been at peace.
Yeah, I know when the flag is flown upside down, that means that essentially means in distress, and we keep seeing this upside down flag being flown in America.
The other flag is different. It's different. It's different. It's
the other way up, isn't it?
It's an inverse of the coloration, and it's a reversing of the horizontal into vertical lines. So you get blue stars on a white background, and then vertical lines. That's supposed to be the peacetime American flag, and then you've got the.
And it has no fringe or something. A fringe.
Well, you've got the standard wartime flag, and I think the gold fringe. Doesn't that mean something like under military rule as well?
Maritime law.
Sure.
Is
that what it is?
Maritime law, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But I was following Bitcoin because there's a correlation between the artificial intelligence and this Bitcoin, because there's a guy who claims or is claimed to have invented Bitcoin, but you know, nobody knows who this guy is or where he is or anything about him. You know, this Japanese guy.
K or something.
Satoshi, I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
But nobody knows very much about him, and you know, it's all clouded in mystery. But having worked on Wall Street, I remember when you know, what they called high frequency trading, and There's another phrase that I can't remember what it is now, but it was essentially computer systems were doing the trading, and they were sort of making trades at at lightning speed, and the traders didn't even get a look in. So I'm kind of thinking that an AI was created then to do all these trades, and perhaps this AI is what manufactured the 2008 housing crash, or the financial crash, because literally the next year is when Bitcoin first appeared, and there's a lot of circumstantial evidence to say that Bitcoin was written by an AI. So it sounds like a Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. They create a financial crash, and the solution, well, Bitcoin, there it is. And the other point is that in order to mine the Bitcoins, you have to put computer hardware onto a network to basically find or solve these mathematical problems in order to be rewarded with a Bitcoin. Again, more circumstantial evidence seems to link to this idea that this AI is literally building itself by all these poor saps trying to make money, but what they're actually doing is solving the AI's problems and expanding its power. No, perhaps sounds a bit crazy, yeah?
A lot of people aren't sure about all this other monetary ways, and then people say, well, what happens if they turn the electric off? But if they do that at any point, then more and more people will wake up. I know that we won't have electricity, but more and more people will wake up over time rather quickly. So I can't imagine they'd want that, because they wouldn't be able to control us. So maybe the electricity is never going to go off.
Well,
but people don't trust it, because it's going back into a system, isn't it? And you still need a computer or whatever to get it out, or to move it on, or to whatever it is.
I wouldn't say you could definitely confirm that it's an AI that's running it, but I think it's reasonable to suppose that any desired outcomes are run through computers of what processes need to occur, and then they're then implemented. Whether that's directed right now by an individual AI that's that's overreaching, or whether it's still manipulated by humans, I would think it's kind of irrelevant. You're heading that way because the outcome is already decided in an algorithm, isn't it? That they're going to run within a market or whatever to reach whatever goals desired, and that's.
So what would you like then, Dave?
Sorry, again?
What would you like then?
What would I like? In what way?
Well, you don't like the Bitcoin and all that, so what would you like in its place?
Well, personally, I'd like no money at all. And people would look at that and think, oh no, that's impossible. How can you live without money? Well, I go back to this idea of I call 1,000-man island. If us here and the nearest 990 whatever people got stranded on a desert island, we basically have to figure out how to survive. And we basically have to figure out how to survive, and money wouldn't have to come into it. Essentially, we'd all figure out what we're good at, and do our part to help everyone survive. Again, money wouldn't have to come into it. If I found I was good at fishing, I would go out, catch 10 fish, take one for myself. There's 9 fish for anybody who wants one. I wouldn't want to have to hang on to them and try and force people to do things for me for a fish. That's That's for psychopaths to do.
I mean, we need to share more. But I think some countries with their families, they still have that, but they have annihilated our families here. I mean, we're a small place, but hardly anybody lives near their parents anymore. There's no network anymore. And as they like to break up society anyway, that's what this is all about.
I'm just gonna have to move a little while, so I'll drop off for a few minutes.
Okay. I wanted to ask him what those birds were.
Tropical, whatever they were, mate. It sounded.
It's dark now, and they're still making a noise. It means it must be warm. It's not fair, is it? It's been horrible today. Who got snow? Did you get snow?
Rubbish snow, mate. We're in the Trent Valley, aren't we? We've got a tiny little crusty, crappy coating that you can't do out with.
It snowed all around us here, but it didn't snow here. But I'm glad. I just see, you know, when you're 5 years of age, it's great. But as an adult, it's just chaos for everyone.
I'm desperate, right? We've not had good snow for so many years here that I've not been able to build my kids an igloo. And I'm desperate to build them an igloo before they're bigger than me. So,
yeah, they're 30 years of age. You suddenly go, here's the igloo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I got caught in, you know, the hurricane thing that happened in the 80s and it destroyed all the trees and everything in the UK. Well, I got caught in that and called Lyd, which is not very far from
Sevenoaks, isn't it?
Dungeness Power Station. It's literally a few miles away, but it's on a kind of peninsula, and it meant that it was one of the last pylons, and it took them nearly a week to get to us. And we had no electricity, no heating. I know it's slightly different, but these things, they just cause havoc for people. The conditions, the snow is always just about people die, people without electricity, problems, issues. I don't see it as I don't know, I just prefer it when it's not snowing.
Yeah, but it's a game. That's another game, isn't it? Right? I went out to Italy last year, and it's in the rural countryside, up sides of mountains, yeah, and I'm driving over the mountains, and there's snow 8 foot deep, yeah, but the snow plows, because they're used to snow or whatever, whether they can't get away with not looking after their people because there's more municipal councils, whatever, for whatever reasons, they manage to cope with more severe conditions than we ever get here. It's a nonsense, and it's whatever the reasons are, I don't know, but to try and pretend that it's the weather and we couldn't possibly cope with it in this day and age, it's farcical. It's farcical. So whatever they do it is, again, I would suggest towards part of the many fear porn factors that there's snow coming, you've got to be scared.
Hi, so I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. I just want to ask you before we carry on, what are those birds in the background?
Oh, they're not birds.
No, I knew you were going to say that when I said birds. What are they then?
They're crickets and all sorts of things.
Really?
It's one of the things. It's a bit quieter now because I'm inside, but it's one of the things I was saying, the difference between England and a place like here. Well, I live out in the you know, in the countryside, basically on the South Downs, and when the sun goes down, it's dead quiet. I mean, absolutely quiet. There's the occasional screech owl, but no, it's absolutely dead quiet. But as soon as the sun goes down here, it's loud with life. There's life here. You know, in England, there's no life. The place is dying. Yeah, you know, you'd notice it as soon as you get here because everything's alive.
Yeah, the joys of it being warmer, hey?
Well, yeah, maybe, but I'm just saying it's you know, where I used to live in New Jersey, it was kind of the same, but well, kind of the same. There were sort of cicadas and crickets and things, but it wasn't anywhere near as you know, full of life as it is here.
So you get a noisy evening then?
Well, yeah, when you heard it, it's you know, what the microphone picks up is nothing to what you can actually hear
It
here.
really is like Santos is, they're not the same, but he, you know, when he's talking, there's always birds and things going on in the background all the time.
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, that's
Again,
Australia.
Australia, again, another place that's full of life, but you know, that life's dying out, you know. In the UK, even the trees are starting to die. Don't know if you noticed it.
Is that all the chemtrailing though? Again.
I don't know, but you know, you look at the trees along the sides of roads, you know, they're kind of all, you know, brown and black spots on them, and then, you know, and they're not looking very healthy. This year actually, there's an apple tree that I usually gone to for the last 4 years. You know, when I go for a walk, I go past this apple tree. Always got huge, gorgeous apples on it. This year the apples were kind of undersized and sickly looking. I never had one.
So you feel like you've escaped then?
Oh, for the moment, yeah, for the moment. Yeah. But yeah, sorry. So that's what all that noise is. No birds during the day.
By the way, are you close to the sea, or are you inland, or?
Well, it's a small island, so you're never very far away from the sea. But I'm about sort of a mile from this lovely little cove, which is like it's almost like a private beach, and yeah, about the same distance away from another beach. Yeah, it's a bit weird, you know. There's this cove just down the road to my left, and then I go to my right, same distance away. There's another little town and a lovely beach there as well. So yeah, it's not too far.
Sounds very nice indeed.
I haven't actually got to the beach yet. I've been here a week. I've been just working too much, so hopefully in the next couple of days I'm gonna head down there and just relax a bit.
You've moved in for a few months, haven't you? Like you said.
Yeah. So yeah, before I came on, I was actually building a bed, would you believe? So
yeah.
I got a bit flustered because I was running out of time. The whole bed collapsed as I was trying to put it together.
Oh, did you manage to get the bed done then?
Well, it's sitting there, the glue and the dowels dry. So yeah, I don't think I'll be sleeping on it tonight, but it's pretty much done now. But so yeah, if I say so myself, I did a pretty good job of it.
So Dave, can I ask you? You're obviously good, chill out there, but I assume with some purpose. And you're saying you're not focusing on flat Earth. Are you want to share what you're heading towards? What's your kind of got your interest at the moment?
Well, well, I've always mentioned it on this kind of show, but yeah, human history.
Dave. You've gone a little bit Dalek-y again. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I
better.
don't know what that is then. Yeah.
That's all right now.
Okay. Well, I've been looking at human history in the Bible. That was still a big topic for me. But I've been looking at this AI. There is something going on with this AI, because as soon as I started looking at you know, what's going on with it, I started to realize there's something fishy going on. If you come across this robot, Sophia, when you look at some of the video of Sophia in action, there's some inconsistencies there. You know, there's video of this Sophia acting in a very human-like way, which when you really look at it is actually it's a human voice. Somebody's dubbed a human voice over it, and it's you know, so this really extensive, really powerful AI doesn't seem to be as powerful as I think they're trying to portray it. I think machine intelligence will never ever be this you know, intelligent thinking machine, you know, that we think it might be. Because I literally went out and tested every AI chatbot I could find to see, you know, if these things have improved. I essentially did the Turing test on each one of them, and if you don't know what the Turing test is, it's basically if you can talk to a robot or an artificial intelligence and you can't tell if you're talking to a machine or a human, then it's passed the Turing test. So I ended up chatting to maybe 10, 15 chatbots, and none of them passed the Turing test. Really, none of them. They haven't. It hasn't improved one little bit since the last time I you know, got interested in it, maybe 10 years ago. Yeah, there's no improvement whatsoever. So I think there's a bit of a deception going on, and this robot Sophia who is now the face of AI, is actually an elaborate ruse, really, because I think okay, the human brain is not you know, an organ that generates consciousness. You know, consciousness does not lie in the brain. Yeah, I think it's an organic matrix that allows you to receive a consciousness, and that consciousness to manipulate the body through this matrix that's you know, of you know, not memories, neurons and things in the brain. It's a matrix that allows this consciousness to move a body around. Yeah. I think that what they're building is an artificial, an inorganic matrix to receive a different consciousness. You know, and it's this thing that is going to be touted as AI, but this consciousness is going to be able to control, you know, computers, everything that these computers are linked up to, which is the Internet of Things. Yeah, they want to put everything on the internet so that a computer can control everything. It's going to have access to all the surveillance technology that's around already, and you know, there's more and more being added to it every moment. So it's the all-seeing eye. So this so-called AI will be able to see everything. And ultimately, what they want to do is have everybody added to this to the internet, essentially, so that this consciousness can control everybody. So that's what I'm starting to think is actually going on, and it's going to be centered around these D-wave quantum computers, which, when you look at them, aren't computers. You know, there's nothing computer-like or recognizably computer-like about any of these things. So, so yeah, that's what I think is going on. They're building a matrix for demonic spirits to be able to control technology. So I've stunned everybody into silence.
I was saying something, I didn't realise I was muted. Haven't they given those robots like citizenship or something?
Well, yeah.
That's in Saudi Arabia, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they've given the robot citizenship. Yeah, this cute little Sophia robot, but she's just the face of AI. So what they've really given is artificial intelligence personhood. You know, just like they gave corporations personhood. Yeah. So now an AI can have all the rights of everybody else. It's just a step, one more step towards this this AI being able to take control. And as I said, it's not AI, it's not artificial machine intelligence. I think it's a different sort of intelligence that's going to be working through this technology.
Still not very good though, is it?
It's not, but you did ask me what I was looking at the moment. I know it's a bit weird, but that's what I'm researching at the moment. And there's a lot in it to research. I don't know if you anybody's actually seen the slaughter bots.
Oh, are they?
No, not sure if I have.
Okay, well, there's a very chilling video out there now. It's made as a almost a warning video about what might happen. But the point is, what you see on the screen is, you know, well, it's possible now, and if it's possible now, it's being done. Yeah. So it's a presentation of like a new military weapon, basically drones. Those little drone quadcopters, militarized. So each one of these drone copters has charge, a few grams of explosive in it, and literally these drones can actually take somebody out by flying at them, you know, landing on their heads and blowing a hole in their head and somebody's head. And you see in this video a swarm of these things. You know, one of them lands on the side of a building, blows a hole in the side, and all the other drones come in, and they literally just go around taking out people, you know, by facial recognition. They know who they're going after. So it was made up as a warning, but it's more chilling because you know that these things are technically possible now. And as I said, if they're technically possible, they're being done.
You alluded to it earlier, David, and in terms of saying I don't think they're as good as the making out. That sort of stuff is superb technology, but to me, it's not AI in the truest sense of any kind of consciousness, as you alluded to. And I think there is a difference between the AI concept that's out there and amazing technology.
Yeah.
You know, they're not thinking machines that are doing this. They're pre-programmed machines that match your face scanner. Do you know what I mean? It's a human being is telling them at the end of the day what target to go for. The concern when you talk AI is when the machine picks its own target. That's the
but what I'm trying to say is that you know, there's software that you know, people write that will approximate, you know, kind of look like thinking. And this is what we got when you talk to one of these chatbots. Yeah, it's got all these rules that it knows about language, and it can figure out just by looking at these rules roughly what you're saying, and you know, come back with something that sounds appropriate. Yes, it's a bit more, it can get more complicated and a bit more clever than that, but essentially that's what it is. And when you talk to one of these chatbots, you know, if you know what, how they basically work in that way, you can actually easily see that you're talking to a chatbot. You're not talking to another person. But I personally think that this is beyond. It's not possible. It's not possible to create using inorganic substances unintelligent inorganic substances, put them together in some way, and you get intelligence. I don't think that's possible. I think you know that the only way you get intelligence is through consciousness, and what they're doing with these D-Wave machines is putting together a receiver for a particular type of consciousness. So yeah, you've got two tiers here. The tier for the uninitiated, which is what we're seeing in, you know, this, you know, with Sophia and stuff, and the initiated know that it's literally, you know, demons or fallen angels or Satan, you know, who's actually behind it all, who's actually controlling the technology.
Are you talking in terms of quantum technology?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go and look at what's inside the D-Wave, yeah, that's not a computer. There's nothing in it that you could really call a computer.
I'm a little ignorant on that, Dave. I've got to be honest with you. It's something I've looked at the theory of it and thought, okay, I don't comprehend how you build a machine like that. So I don't know if you've got any info on it or.
Well, if you do a search for his name is Geordie Rose, the one who financed it all, and he does a couple of talks about how they work. How they work you know, is a little terrifying, actually. You know, the idea that it reaches into a parallel universe and pulls out the answer and brings it back to this universe. Yeah, it's kind of worrying, to be honest. And you know, I think if that's what it's actually doing, then you've got a reason for this Mandela effect right there. You know, if you've ever come across the Mandela effect, that you know, you've got the reason for it right there if that's what it's doing.
Let's do C3PO's leg, mate, because it's one I agree with you on. If you want to do that.
Yeah, yeah, C3PO's leg. That's the one for me, actually. That's the one that's really got me, because I know he didn't have a silver leg. I know that for a fact. You know, I was one of those who watched Star Wars 16 times before it came out on video.
I'm with you on that, mate. The only real other Mandela one effect for me is Nelson Mandela. I swore he was dead before they said he died, man. I know he died.
Yeah, me too. I'm one of those who remembers that as well.
Yeah, that's the only real one that I haven't, and because I love Star Wars as well, mate. So when I always remember you saying that on one of your videos, do you know what I mean? So it's one of the only other few. I think most of the others I don't have a problem with, but I think it's the frequency that other people have them.
Yeah, and I do admit that some of them could be misremembering, but how can everybody misremember Mirror, Mirror on the Wall? You know, it's just like everybody knows that one, you know. So yeah, so I do think something weird is going on. It does seem to coincide with them messing around with quantum computers. So I don't know. I mean, there's just, as I said, there's so much going on all at once at the moment. Yeah, it is getting a bit confusing now.
Yeah, I ain't got a clue, Ben.
Well, you did ask what I was getting into.
Yeah.
Is Sophia then to make artificial consciousness then?
Oh, sorry, say again.
Is Sophia, is that all to make artificial consciousness?
This Sophia is an artificial intelligence moving a robot around, and it's not even really a robot. It's a head, and now I think she's got a couple of arms, but it was a head that can make human expressions, and an artificial intelligence, so called. But as I said, if you watch all the video, all the interactions are very scripted, and some of them aren't actually her talking. It's it's an ordinary woman dubbing the voiceover, and sort of giving sort of very, very human responses. But then it switches to another video, and it's a it's a robot voice, and and very, very robotic responses.
I think we should stay away from all that kind of stuff, personally.
Well, I don't think it's going to stay away from us, though.
Nah. It's an interesting concept, though, Dave. Even within a quantum computer, can you then, even within a quantum computer, you're still not generating consciousness, are you? So
no, as I said, it's not going to generate consciousness. I did a video called "Telepathy in a Complete Human."
Right, so that's what I'm saying. Are you saying they're going to contact consciousness within that network that they access that's within the quantum realm? Are you saying that actually there is a consciousness in there, and that's why it's coming back? That it might be that consciousness is actually within the quantum realm as opposed to within the physical machine?
As I said, I think the consciousness originates outside of this physical realm. Yeah, our consciousness isn't here. It's being received here by the network of neurons and stuff in our brains. That's actually receiving who you are. Yeah, they're not being generated inside your skull. That's what I essentially discovered when I was doing the research on on us, basically, in Telepathy in the Complete Human. So I think that these quantum computers, I say, aren't actually computers. They're a matrix. They're a brain-like matrix that's allowing a consciousness that's outside of this realm in a different dimension, ability to actually step through and control something in this dimension.
And maybe that's what we are.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what we're an organic version. Obviously the original version, but we're on organic matrix that receives consciousness. And I think we've been, the elite have been given the plans to build an artificial matrix to receive these demonic consciousnesses.
Right. So that's the point I'm saying. So what you're saying, and so I was alluding to, that quantum computer then accesses a level of consciousness in the quantum field, and you're suggesting that it's actually a demonic, that these machines are being directed towards a demonic influence as opposed to any kind of random field of quantum energy of God that just comes out, but it's actually being directed towards more negative, nefarious.
Absolutely. There are, if you read the Old Testament, as I said, it's a book of history. It will tell you that there are these beings that the Nephilim, when they died, their spirits could not go anywhere, so they became the evil spirits, the demons and things. They've had so many names over the over recorded history. And the thing they want most of all is to become incarnate again, to be part of this world again. And this looks like a way that they can be. They come back and control machinery, and they can control the internet. and everything's on the internet, then they get to control everything.
Sounds like a good plot for a movie, doesn't it?
Well,
It sounds like what's happened to us anyway already.
yeah, well, I think we're going to live that movie.
Yeah. I'm not taking the piss when I say that. I mean that genuinely. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm surprised there isn't a movie with that already foretold. If you know, do you know what I mean? In terms of revelation of future, I'm surprised that's not out there somewhere.
Well, there are films. So I can't remember. I can't remember the name of this one in particular, where yeah, somebody makes a computer system and it's actually being controlled by a demon. I can't remember the name. Demon Seed. I can't remember what the name of it is. But yeah, there are a few science fiction films that are there telling us this sort of thing.
Does Weird Science count?
I can't really remember that one. Is that where they make a girl or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure if you actually went back and looked at it, you're going to find some interesting things, because I do every time I see an old film. I actually see things I never saw before.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Mm.
But we're all looking at things differently now, aren't we?
Well, yeah. As I said, the age of innocence is gone. Now we can look back and see the signs that we missed back then. They're there. I mean, all those films that we used to actually enjoy back in the 80s, 90s, even the 70s. The messages and the subliminals are still there.
And there was me thinking that Space 1999 would happen.
I did too, actually.
I really thought that we'd be living on the moon, or they'd get to the moon and there'd be colonies on there and it would be happening soon.
Yeah, me too. I was actually waiting for the date. I think it's September 9th, 1999. I was actually waiting for that date to come and see if it happened.
I think Adam's.
But then I was actually
maybe remember. Do you remember Space 1999, Adam?
Yeah, it was one of my earliest memories. I actually had the bobbly ended, odd looking spaceship. So but not probably to remember the storylines. But yeah, it was one of the many things that we were fed, back then, wasn't it? It was
an eagle. Get it right, an eagle.
Is that what it was? I can't remember. An odd, clumsy-looking craft is what I remember from Space 1999. Sorry.
It was cool back in the day. The Eagles.
Oh, yeah. Well, luckily, yeah, I'd have probably been about 5 when that kind of. I'm more a Doctor Who fan, and that kind of space station.
I forget you're a youngster.
Thanks.
You probably don't. Your Doctor Who isn't my Doctor Who. Mine was John Pertwee. So
I'm a total geek. So Pertwee and Baker are my favourites anyway. But
Baker's my favourite.
Yeah, a lot of us.
He's quite good as well.
Yeah.
What were we going to say, Adam?
Well, I was just going to say a lot of that actually is part of the reason you start to unpick with Flat Earth, how you start to unpick it, because you actually start to think what actually is fantasy, and how much of it is been programmed into you, and how much you enjoy, you know what I mean, and how much you do dream about the escape, and how much you've been conned into thinking that it's not just that way, but many realities that they.
Well, I think that's it. It's all been science fiction, the whole thing. Yeah. They built up story in our minds. Yeah. And I remember after discovering the flat Earth, watching an episode of Star Trek Enterprise, and it was the opening sequence of Star Trek Enterprise that always used to inspire me. Always used to almost fill me with pride, where it's a sequence that starts with you know, a couple of people on a raft, and it turns into a sailing ship, and then it turns into an ocean liner, and then it's the first, you know, the first aircraft of the Wright brothers, and then it was somebody, you know, Amelia Earhart crossing the Atlantic, and then it's a space shuttle, and then it's a spaceship, and then it's a starship, you know, and all that. It was that progression, and that inspired me. I thought, you know, this is where we were going. But after watching, you know, after discovering Flat Earth, I realized it was like that was the lie. That was a huge lie. It's been keeping us in this mode of just wait, it's just around the corner. Don't just wait. You know, this idea of yeah, we're gonna have moon bases and Mars bases, and we're gonna start building starships and go out. It's never going to happen. Never, ever, ever. You know, they've just been stringing us along for decades.
Dave, you were alluded to earlier that you're kind of not done with Flat Earth, but you're not sure maybe where you're going with it. You seem quite grounded in, or having a real belief in the full validity of certainly in the Old Testament. You were saying, and some of the geographical descriptions of where to go and stuff. Have you not any interest in that sort of stuff anymore, in terms of Meru or Eden, whatever?
Where to go?
Tags. Yeah, is it not?
So,
is it not of curiosity still? That, especially, you know, you sound like you're quite into researching ancient history and using old text to give direction to where you're going at the moment. And there's a lot of stuff in there, isn't there, in terms of its purpose?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by where to go, but yeah, there is an awful lot in those, you know, in those old books, especially the Old Testament. You know, it's living prophecy. It's all coming past right this moment. You know, so yeah, it's.
I'll probably try and clarify it, but if you have a literal belief in the translation of those books, you would assume there is a literal place on the plane that relates to some of the descriptions, and kind of, you know, I'm just wondering whether you had that. To me would seem actually quite important. You seem quite infused in that older stuff. You allude to what's going to unfold will unfold. I assume you mean in terms of biblical prophecy. There's not a great deal we can do other than prepare for it. You know, what's coming's coming. So I just wondered why, you know, that didn't hold any interest in it, and you're heading off in other directions. And it's not necessarily flat Earth, but in terms of the geography of it, that's kind of one of the things that is doing my nutting, if you know what I mean. Not being able to find Meru, but that what the hell's north of us is of more interest to me than the subterfuge that we're given to the south. There's so much clues and stuff thrown out for the south. It almost seems, please look down here, don't look north.
Well, you know, I'm of the opinion that we probably live in a realm that we probably cannot even imagine how it works. You know, it might not well be simple as we think it is, because there's obviously some way of thinking that perhaps there's limitless land to the north as well. You know, as well as almost limitless land to the south. So, you know, who knows? Until we get more information, until something breaks, you know, that allows us, you know, one of us to actually go and see, you know, I'm not really interested in speculating about what that could be, you know, until we get more information. You know, I say the AE map is good enough. But yeah, that's not to say that if somebody was going to put together an expedition to the north or the south, you know, I'll be the first to sign up.
we've not heard from Mr. John Brahmer for a while. We may hear something back soon. He's supposedly out there. I don't know if you heard about that.
Who's that?
There was a gentleman that contacted us, John Brahmer, that said he was from not a UN, but a affiliated kind of source that was on the Antarctic patrols, and he was looking for people to go.
Well, if you see him, tell him I'll go.
Yeah. Well, if you had $100,000, you could have gone, apparently.
Oh, okay. No, that's me out there, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was the thing a while back. He's gone quiet on that, but actually, I think he's due back any time. So, I don't know if anybody paid or whatever, but did you hear about that, Karen?
Say that again.
Do you remember the John Brahmer stuff?
I'm not sure. When was this? I'm sorry. Is this recently?
Well, it was sort of Easter through to the summer. He was all over the place, you know, and contacting those guys and stuff, and saying he was going to do X, Y, and Z. You know.
And now you haven't heard anything.
No. It's all gone quiet. So, but I think he's due back just before Christmas was the timetable we were given. So we will see.
I also heard somebody else was putting together an expedition, and I think they were trying to get a crowdfunding campaign or something. Yeah, I wanted to sign up, but there was a couple of people on there that I thought, well, I don't think it's really going to happen. So so I didn't pursue it. But I don't know if anyone's ever heard anything about that one.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if it ever got off the ground, something like that, won't it? Yeah. It doesn't seem an impossible thing, does it?
Well, it shouldn't be an impossible thing, you know. Well, saying that, I tried to put a petition together with about the flat Earth, and we needed something like 10,000, signatures as such, just so it would have to be answered. But we got nowhere near that. So I guess getting people to motivate over the flat Earth is like herding cats. So yeah. So yeah, maybe if it depends on people putting the money together, then it's not going to happen.
No, we lost Dave.
He dropped out there, didn't he?
He did. Right in the middle of a sentence there.
Loss of satellite.
That's right, because it's gone round the other side of the ball.
All right. Right, well, it's getting late for me, so I reckon I'm going to call it a night there. Karen, thank you so much for inviting me. It was good to have a natter with Dave. It was a real pleasure.
It's just you and me left on here, so I'll have to end the hangout. Do you want to just see if he comes back in a minute?
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, a couple of minutes.
Wait 10 minutes.
The point being is it was real good fun, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always nice to talk to Dave. I say he's not so interested in research of what we live on anymore. He's going into other areas. Everybody has to do their bit, don't they? We can't all do the same thing.
It'd be a bit boring if we did, wouldn't it? There's no reason to talk to anyone.
No. And he hasn't watched FPV's work either. Have you seen any of that?
I've seen bits, but I need to sit down and properly comprehend.
I can send it to you. He sent me a short version of it, which I'm going to send to Dave. Active 1 minute ago. It's been gone, hasn't he? It might be that he's on his laptop and the battery's run out. We always lose him like that. We never ever get to say goodbye to him on a hangout. Where he's living, where he's in Sussex, he's kind of like, I don't know, he's able to sort of home into a network, but usually about 11 o'clock we lose him.
Made another 45 minutes tonight then, but yeah, good chat. Enjoyed it, mate. Enjoyed it.
Have you not ever spoken to him before?
No. I've watched a lot of his stuff, and you know, I know a few things, but I never spoken today. But interesting chat.
He's a nice
Trailblazer.
guy.
Yeah. He was one of the guys early on. You know what I mean? When there was limited YouTube stuff, and when his stuff came out, it was quite awesome what he did. You know, with the TV interviews and all that sort of stuff. It was quite cool to see somebody actually being one of the first people to break it. It might have been, was it Macedonia? Might have been on there, but he was still breaking into mainstream, something he'd never seen before, and I thought it was.
Yeah, you always, you know, in Flat Earth, there was a few people that I started looking at, but no matter where you went, you'd always, somehow, there'd be something, people were using bits of him, always to explain things. I came across Legendary Dave that way, and that you suddenly, oh, there he is again. Oh, there's that, you know, right at the beginning. Oh, there he is again. People use his stuff a lot. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's coming back. I've just sent him a message, so. Well, it got somewhere because there's a blue tick on there on Messenger. It's always annoying when we lose a cut like someone like that. It's a bit brutal, really. It doesn't warn you; you just lose them. That's it. So, are you all ready for Christmas then, or does Christmas mean something? Because I cannot get into it this year. I just can't.
I'm busy, mate, but yeah, I've got the Christmas decorations up, lights are up. Looks shocking outside. It embarrasses the wife.
I know what it is anymore. It's not this sort of thing anymore to me, even though obviously I'm too old for a stocking and all that. But I really loved Christmas, but I can't now. Because it means something different.
It's an opportunity for me and my family and my extended family to get together, yeah, and have a loving time. And if you need, I don't need to put any more on that, and that's what I enjoy. I don't attribute anything more than that to it. It's a fantastic time with me and my family. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, maybe that's the best way to look at it.
Oh, you know, I don't know if there's that many. Certainly in the UK, you see a lot more Christians in the Flat Earth community in America, but I don't think Christmas is necessarily a Christian festival over here, is it? Sadly, I mean, it started out as that, but it's a commercial event, and that's the one thing I don't want my kids to necessarily take from that. I want them to understand it's a time when family comes together, and that's the real importance of it. That's not to say I won't buy them a present, but do you know what I mean? That actually there's a bigger meaning to it. I can't attribute a religious meaning to it because I don't believe it, so I don't put that on them. Do you know what I mean?
And do you believe the Flat Earth for you is a spiritual coming together?
Yeah, totally. Not a religious, but spiritual. That we're all created by a creator. My opinion is we can't all be right. You know.
We can't always feel it in the chat room exactly, like because sometimes the chat's whizzing around and there's people in there, but a lot of the time with the people on the panel, we can feel it all between us. And like, so when we get to some of these after hangouts and you talk, everybody's really happy, or deep moments have come through the hangouts. And then people can feel other people's energies and all that. It's quite, yeah, that's where we should be, isn't it? Noticing all these things.
Yeah, and I think most people have a certain level of awakening, and how they view and want to treat other people. I think, I mean, You don't necessarily see that all the time in flat earth community, but I think the majority of the actual people, the views that you see in flat earth, most of those people are fairly well balanced and on a spiritual path anyway, or more enlightened than the average person, if you get my drift. So when we do come together, it is a bit more understanding, isn't there, of common purpose outside of flat earth.
Do you think, I mean, obviously, I think a lot of the people who are waking up are sensitive, and it's been with you since your childhood, but is it children differently?
Is it what? Sorry.
Flat earth, like, I reckon that you're probably been a sensitive person since you were a child, and it just never left you. A lot of people waking up, I just believe that it's something that you knew as a child and were very sensitive. But I'm just saying, do you think now you understand what all this is about, it's made you do things differently with your kids, where you bring them up, what you say?
No, because I think, I mean, if you're talking no, not with flat earth, because I was already on the journey anyway. Flat earth, like I say, is it's one of the few things that you're able to give real validation to, and see yourself and confirm yourself that a lot of your fears and suspicions that they are lying here, there and everywhere, and that it's true, you're not mad, and actually, you know, the towers were shot down and there is no space, and, you know, I mean, they're harder things to prove this, but actually with flat earth, it is something, and then the following realizations that you get from that actually it does give you a sense of knowing as opposed to believing, doesn't it? Well, for me,
Does it give you a bit more peace in your heart?
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think most people don't realise you've got to know who you are quite a lot, I think. If you don't know who you are, you're never going to believe all the other stuff. It's knowing who you are, and everything else sort of fits. Knowing who you are as a person, you know, yourself, and then everything else outside fits into place then. If you haven't worked yourself out, you can't fit anything else out.
Yeah, working yourself out, I don't think, I keep trying on that, Doc, but I don't, that's a daily job, isn't it? I'm not the Dalai Lama.
I think for me, it means that, you know, lots of things will have happened and lots of things as a child, but you're not afraid of yourself. Do you know what you know? A lot of people don't even understand the feelings they get. They don't know where they come from, what they're there for, whereas I usually know. Sometimes I don't trust them. You know, I ignore feelings I should take notice of, but it's just like that, yeah. You know, like I've gone back and I've looked at myself, at who I was as a child, things that have happened to me going through. It took about 6 months of just going backwards, and it's a bit like unturning every stone and seeing things I didn't want to see, but I'm not afraid of any of that anymore. And like a spiritual master is know yourself, see yourself, accept yourself, and be yourself.
Well, that's a way off.
That's a bit deep. It's a bit deep right now. Sorry.
No, it's not deep. It's just I think it's highly unattainable. But I think the best you can do is try, innit?
Oh, he's back. Dave!
Hiya.
We got you back.
Sorry. Yeah. I don't know what happened there. So I've got a new computer, so things are a bit strange on this. So, but anyway, I'm just seeing the time as well.
Yeah, I was just making my apologies, I'm afraid, as well, Dave. But we were hoping you'd come back before I shut off, because it was a real pleasure, mate, having a chat with you. And maybe we could get you on IRM. I'll try and exchange details with Karen if you're up for it, and come and have a chat with us. Those guys, it'd be great.
That'd be cool. I'm sorry if it was a bit morose, because yeah, I'm looking at some very dark things at the moment. So.
We were just saying it would be a bit boring. Yeah, but it's good stuff, isn't it, man? It's good stuff. And just what you were saying about AI is just, you know, it's good to hear that where people are thinking and that. It's let's say maybe it's not as good as they make out.
Well, yes. I mean, there's definitely something fishy about it. I'm still looking into it, but yes, there's definitely something not right about what's being portrayed at the moment.
It's so annoying, isn't it? In a sense, you start looking at it, you can't see any good in it or any nice in anything. It's just all horrible stuff to control us, lie to us. Nothing's nice.
Well, no, because we're heading in this direction, and it's like a runaway train that, you know, nobody's able to stop. You know, it's you know, there's no way we're going to be able to stop this progression into so-called thinking machines, which they're not going to be thinking machines, but you know, this is the thing. There's a momentum towards this, and there's no way that any of us can stop it. Yeah? The military-industrial complex will always say, well, we have to make it because the other people, our enemies, are going to make it instead. You know, so, you know, and I think it's Putin has already said that whoever gets the this strong AI first will control the world. So that there is enough to make sure that, you know, every world power is going to be, you know, throwing themselves headlong into trying to make this thing.
It would seem the ultimate super weapon from that kind of Cold War paradigm, isn't it, almost?
Yeah, but, you know, of course, we know that there aren't any enemies, and it's all the same people playing chess against themselves. So, so yeah. Anyway, as I said, it's getting on a bit. So I'll kind of want to say good night and leave it there.
I was doing the same, my friend. So yeah, Dave, it's been a real pleasure. Like I said, if I can swap details, and I'll get in touch, Dave, mate, and hopefully chat again soon.
Okay, cool.
Wicked. Karen, God bless, mate. Take care.
Thank you very much, Adam. We'll speak to you soon.
Take care, mate.
Yep. Thanks.
God bless.
Thanks, Karen.
Just let Adam go, and then I'll say goodbye to you, Dave. Oh, what time is it for you? Just asking.
I don't know what time. I don't have a clock here. my
how many hours behind is it then?
4 hours. So it's what is that?
That's
12? It's 8.
Yeah,
it's 8 o'clock.
It's 8 o'clock. Yeah, because it's midnight here.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I've still got to get my bed finished. So, so I've got somewhere to sleep. So
what is that? You've actually got a pack bed. What kind of bed have you got then? You're packed. You know, have you bought?
I'm building. I'm building a bed.
Right.
So
what are you building it out of then, Dave?
Wood. It's a bed. I just you know, got the wood and I'm putting it together. So yeah, got to finish it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I don't know if we'll get to for Christmas, because Christmas is looming now, isn't it? So I don't know if I should say Merry Christmas or not anymore, but greetings.
No, I don't, and I hadn't noticed and hadn't realised it was, and I don't care, to be honest. So yeah, don't.
It's just another day for you. Yeah. I just can't look at it. And outside the garden centre down the road, there's a great big blown up Father Christmas.
Okay.
Great big Father Christmas on the side of the road.
Sounds like a target for a dart for me.
Yes.
Right. So I'll say good night to you.
Yeah, you better go.
Thanks for having us on, and I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you so much.
Right. Night.
Big hugs. Big flat earth hugs.
Bye.
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 Just me left on the hangout. We're going to end the hangout now because obviously it's just me and you don't want to hear me talking. But that was great having Dave and Adam together. And we're back on Thursday with J Dreamers. I posted one of his videos. I mirrored it. It was the one with the eclipse and the shadow going one way and then it comes back the other. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to meeting him and chatting with him on Thursday. And then on Friday night, I've put together another evening with Santos and Bro Sanchez. It's going to start about 11 p.m. UK time. So that'll be another very interesting chat and probably a very long chat. And it starts, because obviously it's the next day for Santos and it's 8 hours behind for Bro Sanchez. But yeah, I'm really pleased that that's organised. So anyway, so tomorrow is a day off. We always have Wednesdays off. So we're back on Thursday with J Dreamers and then Santos and Bro Sanchez on Friday. Anyway, thanks very much for listening. It was good to catch up with Dave. Thursday. Good night, everybody. Big flat earth hugs to everybody in the chat room and for listening. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.